Hey guys, how's it going? So hey, today we're going to start pulling the engine out of this 2000 Chevy Trailblazer, which has a 4.2 automatic and it's a four-wheel drive. This engine's self-destructed long before I seen the vehicle. Number 3 cylinder went. I have number 3 spark plug right here. That's the plug that came out. I didn't even look at it any further. I picked up a replacement engine, and that's the way we're going to go. I looked it up on the internet today a little bit, these vehicles and these swaps, and it's the same common stuff. Every vehicle has its problems. One of the ones I run into here is it's against the back door, and I don't have a lot of room between my wall and my cherry picker to get everything apart. So we're gonna have to put it up in the air. We're gonna have to take all the front suspension out. We need to remove the front half shafts for the four-wheel drive. And yeah, and then the other big thing it seems to be is the top two bolts in the bell housing. We don't have a hoist. We're gonna be doing it on the floor. So we'll find a way to overcome that, and then we'll get it out and swap it. We'll kind of document things as we go along. We'll do the top of the engine, and we'll do the bottom, and we'll do when we disassemble the front. We'll do some stuff when we switch over parts from engine to engine, and of course the reassembly. The engine we got is lower kilometers on it than the vehicle has, which is one of the reasons I decided to go this route. This engine was about 40,000 less for mileage, and just seemed like a better alternative. But along the way, you notice things. They broke the clip off of this. They broke a couple coil packs pulling it out. I'm not too worried about it. We have all those parts in the vehicle already. So yeah, follow along and we'll get this apart, and we'll get this switched over. And I hope there's some information here people can use. One of the things I'd like to point out early with these is everything on these is clipped into place or has a different style of factory clip. Like for instance, this gray piece, you pull that back, it allows you to push down here and then slip that fitting out, right? You might, if you're not used to this stuff, fight with a little bit of these things along the way, but they're all pretty basic and they're all kind of the same. They're a little bit different configured, but they're all like that. So you can either knock these apart the way they clip in, or you can just get like a trim remover and you can remove them out of here. And like I say, most of these parts are locked on with a gray or a red piece, and you would slide it back, slide the lock back, and then you'll be able to apply the lever and slide these apart. Just wanted to point that out as we started taking this apart, just to help people out there. Okay guys, I just want to point something out here. For something as simple as removing the windshield wiper reservoir, you have lines that are into little slots, okay? So we're bolted here. We have a bolt here. We have a connector here holding on some stuff, so you want to get that off there because it's holding the wire, so it's a little bit hard to move. We have two electrical connectors. We obviously have the two hoses that go up to the wipers. I use some vacuum caps on those. And yeah, I just wanted to point that out. So all along the way, we're going to be finding stuff like this, a lot of these clips, and a lot of electrical connectors, a lot of little things. So we'll just keep going along and pointing things out as we go. Okay, so that's done. We'll get that out of there. Next will be the battery. So we have a bolt here. We have a bolt underneath here. We have one down there. We'll remove that bar and we'll remove the battery box. So like we mentioned, we're going to remove the grille and stuff and start doing the front end. I'm going to use these trim removal tools I have. I think when I looked it up before, we have a couple of these clips here. I think we have 5 of them in the middle, 2 and 4, or 4 and 2. And then we have a couple in here. Every time I see these vehicles, they're always somewhat damaged from when people remove these, I guess. So if there's 2 in here, you might want to grab the end and slip a tool in there and slowly pry apart. After that, I might take the ECM off of there and try and undo some of the wiring harness that goes over to that side. Looks like all the wiring's mostly over here. I was going to take the battery tray out. There's actually a 2 hoses that go up to the wipers. I use some vacuum caps on those. And There's 2 bolts there. There's one down there, and I think there's 2 more below all that down there. I think there's five bolts in total. Might want to utilize that space as a bit of storage to move things. So we're gonna tear those items apart, and we'll be back. Pop the grill out. So on the bottom, there was 1, 2, 3, 4 clips. 1 in the center, 2 on the top each corner, and 2 that go into each headlight right down there. So that's how the grill came out, and the headlights, for those of you that haven't done it, they push into these holes here. Okay, that's right. And then here and here. And these tabs, you just lift the tabs. That's what locks them in place. Okay, you can see the hole is smaller in there. It'll lock them in place when you push it down. So you just lift those, you pull it back a little bit, you undo the wires for the lights, and you pull them out. Okay, the front grill, the front bumper, 3 bolts, well actually 2. You have these 2 bolts, 1 is each side over here. Then you have a plastic clip over here. And then you have these. And these pieces here slide off of there. So just take a look at that. You can either pull and slide, or you can push this in, or you can push this in, but it's easier to pull and slide, and that's kind of how those came off. Really, you can see it from here. This vehicle doesn't have fog lights, so I had no wiring. And I just had those 3 fasteners there. And on the other end, you can see that rod. I just undid it from the bumper support because it's got a clip on the very corner. This one didn't have one on this side, so I didn't bother. Apparently it's been off before. That'll take care of most of your front end. It wasn't that hard. It just took a few minutes to figure out. If you go onto YouTube, I'm sure there's probably a few videos showing you how to do that. From this point, we can essentially take all that out. We can remove our upper rad support, and we can start working on the front of the engine. We're just basically trying to clear ourselves some room so we have room to pull the engine and work and stuff. I wanted to take the bumper off because I have limited room and space here for how far I can go, for how I can hook onto the engine and pull it back. So instead of having my jack hitting the front bumper, if I had to be that close, it would just hit the steel. But I might be okay still. So I just did it as a precaution not to scratch the vehicle up. But I'll keep going here. Hey guys, just a quick update. So we did take the battery box out to make some room. Like I said, there was 5 bolts there. We took the top radiator support out. We're gonna remove the radiators. We had to, I actually had to go buy a fan clutch tool to undo the fan clutch. I tried last night. I wasn't able to get it off. I've been pretty lucky over the years getting them off. I even tried an air chisel for the first time ever, and no go. So I just bought a basic universal kit. This is it here. It's from Princess Auto. I don't know if you guys have that in the States or wherever you're from. Anyway, it worked fine. It wasn't a little bit of a struggle still, but it came off generally okay. So that was my experience with that. Right now we have to drain the coolant out of here. And there's no drain petcock on these radiators in these vehicles, in these years. So we're going to pull the lower radiator hose. And we'll just drain it into a drain pan. So we'll just pull it off slowly so it just leaks slowly into the drain pan. That way we don't make a big mess. So when we get that done, we'll start pulling the radiators out, and we'll pull the fan off. Okay guys, so we have the, I'm just going to pull out the fan and the shroud. But before I pulled it out, I just wanted to show a few people some stuff. Obviously we've drained the coolant. The air conditioning radiator bolts up right here on both sides. What you need to do is pick this up and pull it out of its supports it's held into by the radiator down below. I can't even see it with the light. Okay, so once you pick that up and the radiator moves without the air conditioning radiator, undo your fan. Okay, obviously you'll take in the 2 bolts out for your shroud. You want to undo the plug there for the electronic clutch fan, and you want to take off the clutch fan and set it there. Now we can pull both the clutch fan and the shroud out at once. After that, we'll probably pull these cooling lines off here and set it down the radiator, and we'll undo those and we'll pull the radiator out. So bear with me and I'll just get this done. Okay, so there's the complete unit out on the floor. So remember, you have these little locating pieces at the bottom for your shroud. Okay, you have your 2 bolts, you have your plug right there, and it all comes out attached as one. You can disassemble it from here if you like, but I'm not going to. Well, it doesn't come attached, but with the wiring there, it's attached, okay? So we have a little bit more room now, and like I say, we'll probably undo the cooling lines there. Maybe I can show you. Yeah, I can show you now. There's some clips, if you see right at the edge of the radiator down there. Let me get a pointer. Right here. And that's what the air conditioning radiator fits into. So you'll have to lift it and pull it back on both sides, and you'll be able to separate the radiator from there. Then you'll be able to separate the other ones and carry on like we were talking about. So I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on that in case you're having any problems. So like I say, we'll do the cooling lines. We started on the wiring. We'll move the wiring harness, and then we'll pick up where we're going to go next. Cooling line removal, or fitting removal, sorry. So I just want to bring this up. Let me get my finger off there. This is a little bit tougher. So you can see one line's corroded and a little rusty. One line isn't. So these clips right here are held inside of here. So you'll have to pick those out with I use like a dental pick or a little screwdriver, okay? Now when you're pulling these apart, a lot of guys have no success. Number one, push them in and out. Make sure they actually move. If you can feel or see a little bit of movement, you're good to go. But if you're pulling and you're pulling this one this way and you're pulling this one this way, it's not coming. Push it in, pull it out straight. They'll come off. It's the best tip I can give you. You might have to reposition a couple times, but that's the way you want to do it. I have both lines off. I've capped them both with vacuum caps, the ones that are staying in. I have that tiny little container there just capturing a little bit of oil. And that's it. I'm going to pull the radiator out now. But I just wanted to show everybody that. Okay? Thanks. Okay, so the power steering pump is now off. I just have it tied off to the side here. My phone just flickered. Here's the 3 bolts. They're 13 mil. And I'm just removing the wiring harness from this side of the engine. So real quick, right here is where the stud where you tie this air conditioning line on. It's also holding on the dipstick. So just remove those things. You don't have to remove that one because the dipstick's going to stay. But keep in mind, and then there's the tray here. It's right there, along with all the wiring up here. And as I'm moving it over, I'm just going to get ready to move it over, and I just wanted to point out to people, there's a bolt right down there. Right there. So undo that bolt, and then you can pick all that up and lay it over with all the other electronics. Alright, we'll keep going. Okay, so just going to go over stuff here. So we have this bracket that sits here like this. And we're probably going to use this for pulling the engine out. So it's attached up here, and here. All 15 millimeter bolts, okay? We'll put that back on in a minute. What I want to do was get rid of the alternator. The back of the alternator is simply a plug and a 10 millimeter nut that holds on the red wire at the bottom, okay? And again, it has 3 longer 15 millimeter bolts. What I want to do is I just want to be able to get to the back here so I can see everything and make sure we have all of our wiring and everything undone, and all the pertinent stuff that, or any problems we may run into. So now we kind of have a clear path underneath here. We can look at any of the wiring that's attached, anything that's clipped on. If we can possibly save the air conditioning, I'm going to say no. And just a few other things, and just to open up this area. Everything else is essentially done up top. After we're done the top, though, we'll start with the suspension, and then we'll undo everything underneath. Torque converter, transmission, stuff like that. All right. Okay, guys, so we have a couple things left over here. We pulled all the stuff off the side. We have those two wires, those two bundles down there. And one goes to the starter, and I think the other one goes to the transmission, to the back. We'll disconnect those from the block. Okay. We're not going to do that tonight, though. And I'll show you why here in a second, as soon as I can get my light in the spot I want it to be in. We have the field line to disconnect right here. Again, we'll do that tomorrow because I don't want it to stink up the shop like gasoline. We've undone our block heater down here. Okay, so the block heater's undone. So really over here we have 4 bolts in the air conditioning. We can plop it off. I don't see a lot of chance of movement here with that. I'm still going to try my best to save the air conditioning, but judging where this one is and where this is going in the room I have, I don't think that's going to work out. Over here, again, like I say, we have a couple things left to take off. We took off the metal bracket. Here it is right here. So this bracket obviously went to these 2 studs in front of you, and it bolted on down here at the bottom. Okay, and it had all those wires going through it. Remember when we were taking that top harness off, this is the bolt I undone for that harness, or I undid for that harness. So once that's out of the way, and what I would advise is to just undo all these clips. Don't try and pull them out, don't try and break them, just undo them. So just to recap, we'll take the starter out probably, just because it's there, right, we're underneath. We'll undo those wires from the block, we'll undo those 2 grounds. You can see the dry shaft in the front diff down there, so I'll be down there anyway, dealing with that. We'll move that air conditioning forward and kind of over to the side to see if we can get any leverage on that line at all, this top line. All right. Other than that, up top, we have a cooling line back here. But again, I'll deal with that when we're ready to pull the engine out. I don't want to. While I'm working underneath, I'll just leave those hooked up so I don't dump any antifreeze on the floor. We have mounts. That's essentially it. And we have to build another area to put our chain so we can pull the engine. So tomorrow, I'm going to go in tonight. We're going to start with, well, we got suspension to take apart. And we got bell housing and torque converter to deal with still. So follow along and we'll get this thing out. See you tomorrow.